welcome to the Spodcast. This week we've got Mike Bridges again. Mike, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me back, mate.
No worries, and happy birthday. I was going to sing happy birthday to you, but I thought it's not fair on everyone else.
Listen, we've got beautiful weather here at the moment. Do not start singing happy birthday and making it rain. I've not had a day off of donkeys, so the fact that I've been able to sit out in some glorious sunshine today, I don't want you spoiling it for me.
Yeah, we've got some beautiful weather, so we better set the scene again. We're back at Wellington Country Park. How are you getting on? Have you been out much?
I have. I've just started to get back into it. My dynamics in regards to life, etc., have been all over the place really the last few months. So I suppose, in essence, my fishing's took a massive back step and has to really. I fished very hard throughout the winter for absolutely nothing. And upon reflection and looking back now, I burnt myself out really. Should never have done it. And I'll probably never do it again, but when you're on here and you're paying the money that you do and the fish stock that's in here, they ain't going to be around forever, nor am I, and nor's my ticket on the lake. So I had a go, tried, come away with nothing really. So we then started to get into the spring, and as I've said, I started to feel burnt out massively. And it did quite well in the spring, but I've had the worst spring in 22 years of carp fishing. I don't know what went wrong, what I've done. I think it's just something that us as anglers will probably go through. Hope I never have a spring like it again. And if there's anyone who's listening to this and can relate to it, they'll probably feel my pain. And if you've not been that unfortunate yet, I hope it doesn't happen. It was getting to the point where I felt like I was camping, Dom. You know, most people will know me now by like hashtag overnight life. You know, my Instagram page is called the Overnight Life because predominantly that's all I've ever done and been successful with. But majority of the bites were coming through the day, i.e. from like 11 o'clock up until lunchtime. So I was pulling off, getting in work, and it got to the point in the end where I was just turning notifications off. You know, I as soon as something come up, I knew another fish was going to get caught, and then another fish was getting caught. And I think for the first time ever in my angling career, it really got to me. It was really, really starting to get me down. As I said, in conjunction with a lot of other stuff that's been going on for me, it started to affect my mental health massively. So, yeah, it's been a real journey the last few months, definitely. But I've had a nice break. I feel revitalised. I've just started last couple of weeks getting back into it, and I'm pleased to say Mikey's back. I feel like my old self again, mate, definitely.
Brilliant, that's brilliant. Obviously you touched on mental health there. I mean, if we just have a bit of a recap from the first time you were on back in September, the messages that you were showing me of like the people getting in touch after listening to the episode.
Phenomenal.
It was really touching, and it choked me up a bit to see them.
When you've got people messaging you and asking for help, and they don't even know you in regards to their own children self-harming, that's so powerful. And the fact that I'm able to provide that and offer that kind of support within the angling community, for me, is priceless. You know, as you just said, there wasn't one. There was absolutely tons of them. Young lads who were struggling with mental health, people struggling with mental health in work, relationships, self-harming themselves, suicide ideations, in fact. We had them, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, I was absolutely spellbound by it. The amount of people who got in touch, and you know, again, I reiterate, people who listen to this now, if you're struggling, get in touch. You know, I can signpost, I can provide you with positive strategies in order to move forward. I'm here to help, and as long as I can help people, until the day I die, really, I'll never ever stop doing it.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I mean, I lost count of how many messages you pinged. Obviously, you blanked out the person's name and grayed out any personal bits, but the amount of messages you sent to me, it was just overwhelming. I couldn't believe it. It's such a positive. It's, for me, probably the best episode in terms of response.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you have said that, haven't you?
Positive response. I couldn't believe it. It's like this one humble little podcast had such a profound sort of effect on other people, and then opening up. That's the thing, isn't it? Opening up and making that first contact. I
think as men, we really, really struggle to speak and open up, and do you know what? even myself as a practitioner and everything that I've done for the last 4 years, everything that's been going on for me the last few months, boy, I was excellent at masking it. You know, if people had a slight inkling as to what's going on in my own personal life the last few months, they'd be blown away by it. They wouldn't have a clue. But, you know, we're very good at masking, especially men. And, you know, there's a huge saying that you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And normally it's the people who are smiling the most who are struggling the worst. And all I will say is if there's anyone who is out there who wants to contact me, whatever you talk about is in complete private and confidentiality. You know, I never disclose anything, and I'll do my utmost to support you going forward as well. You know, there's young lads out there who will contact me now on a weekly basis. We have one-to-ones and stuff like that. It's great to see someone in such a dark place and then able to move on and go on a journey, really. I don't know, maybe they find it comforting not seeing a face, or they can relate to me via social media. I don't know what it is, but I seem to have a little niche where people can sort of like get in tune with it, which is heartfelt, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw a post of yours recently where what's the next stage for your own sort of professional development? Was it life coach you're starting to do?
Yeah, massively. It's, when I left the military, we have a fantastic resettlement package. I've got about $6,000 to use. You have to have served 12 years in order to accumulate that. So I can use it over a 3-year period. It's got to be level 3 or above. So, you know, I want to use that and use it properly. So I thought to myself, what else can I do? You know, I've got a certificate in social work and occupation. I've got counselling concepts level 2 and level 3. I went to Andover Night College and studied counselling and stuff like that. Got loads of military qualifications and from domestic abuse, all that kind of stuff. But within my new job role, I really thought, well, you know, from an Angling Direct perspective, we've got so many stores now and so many stores opening. Is there something that I can help the company going forward with? And also in conjunction with that, from a carping perspective as well. You know, I've got a lot of academies I'm doing this year. We'll touch on it a little bit more as we go along, but I went away last year with the Essex University filming a documentary. And for me, it just feels like a real natural transition of something that I want to do. And I think being able to be a life coach is, you know, it's something that it's always been burning inside of me. I feel like I've gone on a journey myself, really, where I'm at a stage in my life, I'm like, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I suppose that's the next step for me now, Dom.
Yeah, that's beautiful what you said. And obviously, you've recognised there's more to learn as a coach as well, and as an individual. Because I suppose the more you grow, the more you can help others grow and help others out.
I don't think we can ever stop learning. And if you sat there and think you know everything, then that's a frightening place to be in my eyes, because we can always learn off people. Every day is a different day, and if you can take something away from it from the day, perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I mean, you obviously talked about the struggle you had near in the winter, but I'm sure you'd have learnt many lessons along that way, although you didn't catch and you said you burnt out. I'll
tell you what, the biggest lesson I learned, and this is a true story as well, I'm a big reflector these days. There was a couple of lads on, it was probably about January time. I'd loaded the car up, I'd come up, and I'm barrowing round, and I thought to myself, do you know what? My barrow feels really, really light. Lighter than normal. And bearing in mind, I'd actually loaded my car up and unloaded my car up in the car park here at Welly and done the hour drive from Andover. I'd got in this I was actually in this swim. Started to do everything off the barrow. I'd left my rods at home. And for me, that was the biggest eye-opener ever. I thought, Mike, what is going on? Where is your head? You know, and it wasn't just a cynical small mistake. You know, I spent 16 years in the military. I am so methodical in everything that I do. That for me was a massive eye-opener of where I was from a mental health perspective. And, you know, I was going through so much at the time there. I had like 3 months left of being in the army. I'd started to work for the Royal Mail, which was only a passing job really, just to make sure that there was a buffer when I left the army, that the mortgage would get paid and that. But what I'm trying to say is, for me, things were becoming very overwhelming, and I'm suppose there's people now who are listening to this who are going through an overwhelming time at the moment, and it can really, really, really take over your life. And for me to leave my rods at home and come up here, that was massive. I had to take a real step back then and think, you know,
red flag.
Massive red flag. Yeah, huge red flag. And I went and got my own external support from there, and it's the best thing I ever did. And do you know what? I did have a few further dips. My mood went really low, which is to be expected, Any soldier who's listening to this will tell you who's left the army. When you become so institutionalised after 16 years of serving your country, you're shaving every day, you're so routined. When that's taken away from you in an instant, there's no words to explain how difficult that transition is, no matter how much you prepare for it.
Yeah.
And even now, as we speak, I still don't think it's sunk in.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't imagine.
It's a massive loss. It's like a grieving process where
you're just left to your own devices.
Yeah,
and then
you 1 minute you're a number, and you have a sense of belonging, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And don't get me wrong, I love my job. I'm enjoying life at the moment, but I joined the military and worked my backside off. Yeah. When it's taken away from you and you're back in what I call the real world, and it is the real world compared to the military, that's for sure. It's a massive, massive change, and I can see why so many of our veterans ultimately do struggle when they haven't got the correct mindset in regards to the transition and that, which is sad, really sad.
Yeah, because I suppose there's a good chunk of people that need that routine to see them through, just to keep them going.
A lot of them, it's all they know since being a boy, since leaving school. I was quite lucky. I was 23.
Right.
I came from quite a rough area and a hard background, so I use the word battle hardened. I was primed for the army, and I was primed for my job role within the infantry. Mm-hmm. But a lot of young lads and women, they leave school and go straight in. They don't have that kind of ethos and upbringing that I had straight away. And then that's all they really, really do know. Yeah. So when they come out, I was quite lucky. I dipped my toes in civilian street before I joined the army, and then I've come back out. Some people, it's really all they know. Yeah. And I can't even comprehend how difficult that must be for them.
Yeah. I mean, what's there? Did the army offer something, or is that the sort of the gap that you're trying to fill with what you're doing?
I think the resettlement process within the military is absolutely fantastic, but the onus is on yourself. I think it's like anything in life, isn't it? You get out of life what you put into it. There's only so much someone's going to do for you. You have to engage. You have to want to do it. And I think just sometimes people just don't have the mental capacity. They're not quite right, not quite ready in loads of different aspects in life. And I think for soldiers, really, they need to start planning the resettlement way before they actually start the resettlement, if that makes sense. And I did. I knew I was leaving. I knew what was coming. Didn't make it any easier. And as I've already explained, I've struggled with it massively. But I grasped everything that was thrown at me. And again, with the remainder of what I've got, I'm going to take it one step further and start to become a life coach. Yeah.
So is that your sort of long-term aim, to be doing that full-time, or will it always just be something on the side that you're...
No, it's something I definitely do on the side. So the day I actually left the army, which was the 11th of March, so not that long ago, was the day I was informed that I'd been successful in the position of store manager at Angling Direct in Reading. I absolutely love my job. Every day is a different day. I live and breathe fishing, and I get the chance to do that every single day. That's where I see my future within the company. Yeah. If I can put a twist on that within life coaching, or you see so many different people coming in every day, and they've all got their own stories and all that. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time I use my counselling skills and stuff like that within store.
I can imagine.
A lot of people have got stories out there, and a bit like hairdressers. How many hairdressers will say, they sit on that chair while they're having their haircut and they open up to us. Yeah. They do it in the store as well. Yeah. You'd be quite surprised, really.
Yeah, I can imagine people just come in with no plans to buy anything, just for a chat. It's like a community, isn't it, I think?
The kettle will always be on for anyone at Angling Direct Reading, and I do posh coffee as well.
Brilliant. So how long do you say you've been in that role now?
I started officially on the 25th of March. Right. Did a couple of weeks of training. Went to Norwich and potted about for a few days in stores up in the north, and then I worked with Kev Hewitt for a week. That was absolutely priceless. You know, Kev is a fantastic store manager at Swindon. His knowledge is exceptional, and to use his pearls of wisdom and brains. He'd been in the industry as a manager of Hinders prior to that. For me, he's helped me so much, and I can't thank him enough. So I was nicely set up and prepared for when I went into Reading. And I'm really enjoying it. Got a really good team behind me, and it's good.
How old's the store there at Reading?
It's been going for 3 years now.
Right.
It's bizarre. We still get people coming in going, I didn't even know this was here. And, that's good.
Yeah.
That's the power of social media as well.
Yeah.
People see links and stuff like that. And I've really tried to push my store on social media.
Yeah.
So, again, really good platform here, the Reading community. If you didn't know that there is a tackle store in Deacon Way in Reading, there certainly is, and you're more than welcome. Oh.
Yeah.
I get a bite live here.
Yeah. Talk us through the fun you've been having with a trailer or something you mentioned off.
I've had 6 runs today, like absolute one-toners, spill ticking off, which normally you'd think you'd be in, but I'm fishing over a weed bed. What I like to do when I'm fishing over a weed, especially sinking line, is when I hit the clip, I'll tease the line from the lead. Something Rob Hughes taught me years ago from diving, and I've always done it when I fished on Frimley. Again, fishing over big, thick weed beds.
Yeah.
Bit of a tip for anyone who does fishing weed and they don't do it. If you start sinking your line from your rod tip down and it penetrates over, your line lay will be absolutely appalling. You cast out and hit the clip, and hold your rod and the line up and let it sink from your rod nice and gently. Right. It will tease itself over the weed beds perfectly. But this is quite thick weed I've got in front of me, and I think there's a very big carp that's in there because it's baking hot. The weed will be full of oxygen at this time of the day, but I think it's trailing something. And I've had 6 takes now, and every single one of them, as soon as I've struck into it, it's pinning down into this weed bed. It's just grinding and grinding and grinding. So I'm just going to keep persevering. I've put 2.5 kilo out there now. I'm going to give it another night here. If I don't have anything, I'll be on my toes tomorrow, definitely. Yeah. 2 nights in a swim and no fish is... on here it tells you need to really move. Yeah. But this swim has very good form. I mean, a swim called Grasser does throw up some very big fish. Fish came out of the wides this afternoon to a lad called Matt Hart. He had an absolute cracker. What we call the little Sutton, beautiful fish. So they're about. Yeah.
So let's cover that in a bit more detail. Fishing in weed, because obviously it tends to put a lot of people off.
Yep.
Is it going to happen again? Yeah, so obviously you mentioned that really important bit about getting the line lay spot.
Yep.
I assume you beef everything else up to deal with it, because in a place like this, when you get a take, last thing you want.
Yeah.
So are you mono or braid or?
Can't use braid on here.
Right. Okay.
If I could use braid, absolutely. Yeah. I think braid is a game changer. Yeah. Here is really shallow, so I'd love to be able to use braid, because you'd be able to feel absolutely everything down, even the smallest little deepest silt pockets, and you just for anyone who's never fished braid, and you can seriously try it. It takes a bit of getting used to in regards to how you hit the clip and you feel, everything changes, doesn't it, Dom?
Yeah.
But once you get your head around it,
up as well.
I remember fishing St John's, and I planned to do. I think I've explained this in the last podcast before I got my ticket here. My plan was to do a full year on St John's, and you can use braid over there. What an absolute game changer braid was. I could. As soon as I felt certain spots I was closing my eyes, I knew I was going to get a bite. End of. It was like just that tiny little bit more deeper silt, and I could feel it. I could feel everything. Yeah. Even the little graty bits that were coming out. It was like it's like your spidey senses are heightened, innit?
It's almost like you're on top of the spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than being very far away.
And with weed, it cuts straight through it.
Yeah.
It absolutely cuts straight through it. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not savage weed here. A lot of it is that horrible candy floss weed where you're going to really, really struggle to present a bait in it unless you actually smash a solid bag into it. And I'm not a solid bag angler. I never have been. It just doesn't suit my kind of fishing. Yeah. So for me, when I fish in weed, what I do like to do is get a seed gripper lead. I've had the same ones for about 10 years. probably about 2 or 3 ounces.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're using braid or mono. All I want to know is how deep that weed is out there.
Right.
And I had a good 20 casts last night. Cleared a bit of an area with it as well. But a lot of it wasn't that candy floss weed, thank God. A lot of it was lovely liloing weed, and it was stuff from natural, so perfect for carp.
Yeah.
Easy to present a bait on.
Yeah.
But it's just whatever's, a few rod lengths out that's causing me the trouble at the moment.
So how do you sort of tweak your rigs, if at all, when fishing in heavier weed?
In heavier weed, I would never fish like in stupid thick weed bed. You know that. I think we all have a responsibility as an angler.
Yeah.
Are you safely going to be able to extract a fish out of there? Have you got a boat? If you are even going to do that, in order to get right over it and get it right up. If you've not, and the weed's thick, you're asking for it. Fish safety should be the pinnacle of everyone's angling first and foremost. So I take that into consideration. But again, like I've said, I remember years and years and years ago when I lived in the Colne Valley, I was based in RAF Uxbridge. I had the privilege of fishing a lake called the Met Syndicate on the Thorney Weir complex. It's a day ticket, that side of it now.
Right.
But that place taught me how to fish in weed like no other lake has. Within, let's imagine a rod length out, you could have candy floss weed, you could have Canadian pond weed, and then you could have different kinds of weed that I've actually never seen in any other lake before. And all I used to do was cast and cast about and feel the lead down into these different kinds of weed and understand exactly what I was fishing over, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it taught me so much, that lake, in regards to what you can get away with and what you can't. And all I would say is that you could get away fishing in a lot more denser weed than you actually think. Just need to consider the length of your hook links. And I'm a big believer in fishing in longer hook links than most people anyway. Yeah. Give them enough rope to hang themselves with. That's again, I like to be different.
Yeah.
So I do put that into my angling.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously you said you don't really fish solid bags. So what
No.
about sort of protecting the hook point on the way down and stuff like that?
If it's that kind of candy floss weed and stuff like that, I'll probably... See, I used to use a lot of rig foam, but now I like to overshot my pop-ups because,
right.
like you've just said then, I don't want it hanging up too much. I want that lead to hit and the pop-up to get down as quickly as possible.
Right.
My mindset on that has changed massively. I used to I'll put 2 bits of foam either side, let the rig hang up and then let it flutter down. I've just completely changed away from that now. I overshot them more than anything. One thing I always do, and I advise anyone to do, and I do it in the store, is you might get a tub of pop-ups, but for crying out loud, make sure you test every single one of them. I tested 3 rigs last night. I don't use putter. I like to use a split shot on my hook lengths. I'm not a big fan of putter. And 2 of them were more buoyant than the other one.
Right.
Now, if I'd just put them all out, one of them would have been like a bloody zig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I needed to put, instead of putting a BB on, I needed to go up one.
Right.
So, yeah, test your pop-ups, guys.
Yeah.
Regardless.
How far are you fishing popped up out there now? Do you vary that quite a bit?
Not really.
No.
Not really, no.
You like to use a multi-rig?
I love my multi-rigs, yeah. Yeah. Probably about 1.5 inches, but for me, I've always said with a multi-rig, it's just an over-exaggerated bottom bait.
Yeah.
I know people love the Ronnie rigs and stuff like that, and it has that 360-degree turn, etc. But for me, I just have a better hook ratio with multi-rigs. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And as I've said, my winter and spring have been horrendous, but I've fished for 20 years and been very successful. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just carp fishing.
Yeah.
Not beating myself up about it, not getting stressed out.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying it. If you go fishing to catch fish and don't enjoy your surroundings, the people who are there and everything else, for me, you're in the wrong sport.
Yeah, definitely.
Catching a fish is a bonus.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything else that comes with the sport.
Yeah, that has to be one of the most common themes, I think, throughout all the guests on the podcast. It's so true. It's such a privilege to be out, especially on a day like this.
Yeah, absolutely. For a fact, it's great for your mental health.
Yeah.
If you're getting stressed out about not catching, then it's having a detrimental effect on your mental health, innit? It's not good for you.
Yeah. Like you said, you were getting a bit peed off with all that happening earlier, but still, you'd rather be doing that than being peed off at work or somewhere else, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. However, I have choices here now.
Yeah.
You know, I can rather I can fish a completely different area or persevere. Yeah. And it's normally the person who perseveres that ends up with, you know, the reward. So, in essence, I've found really good clear areas out there. Like I said to you, I spent a good 20-30 casts last night of a gripper lead clearing an area as well. I've put 2 kilo of bait. Right. That, as it gets dark, they'll move out of that, as you know, because there's no oxygen in the weed at night anyway. So for now, the next take that we have, if there is going to be one, might not be a trailer, might be a fish. So I'm prepared to ride the storm out.
Yeah.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's it. No, definitely. Yeah, it's almost written, isn't it? Like, it's the build-up. You can, as you know from experience, sticking with it.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking, fuck it, I'm going to try somewhere else. Just keep going.
Yeah.
It's always that session, is it? That just throws up that reward.
I think I look back and think, you know, I've stopped counting how many nights I've blanked. I wouldn't even like to think. But I know there's people on here over the years who've blanked twice as long as I have, and then ended up having like 6 or 7 50s. So that I store in my head, and just it's fishing. You know, you're not always going to have it the way you want it. It's not going to happen. And when it finally does happen, and don't get me wrong, it will do, and it might even happen in spectacular fashion. There's 13 50s in here. You know, any one of them could be a PB. And do you know what? The journey that I've been on, I'd take it any day. Yeah. You know, instead of just coming on and having it easy. I did well last year for a bit, and then I had to go away. I had other projects. As I said, I went away filming a documentary, and I had the PTSD UK Services Carp Charity Cup match. By the time I got back in the winter, this place had well shut up shop. Yeah. So it's only about this time last year, the same, where I've got on and, you know, it's fishing well. Last couple of days, it's done quite a few bites, so I remain very optimistic on this session, that's for sure.
Good. Have the fish all spawned now?
Yes.
Right. All okay? Any?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely different contrast to what this lake was like last year, that's for sure. The water was down immensely. Yeah, we had the aerators in. It was shocking. The water's up. There's not as much dye in the water now. There's weed. These fish are thriving, and there was a fish caught yesterday that was 9 pound down in weight, so that tells you they've had an exceptional spawn. Yeah. However, I guarantee in about 9-10 weeks' time, that fish will be 9 pound up. These fish stack it back on, and a lot of that's not down to bait and boilies. I've spoke about this with the lads and stuff like that. I truly believe that the majority of them, they eat the fry that's in here. Yeah. You know, I think it's really part of their stable diet. Yeah.
Well, I saw a post yesterday, I think it was, someone saying that they'd had a fish and it was just coughing up a load of fry on the mat. I can't remember who it was.
Comment that I had in November. Yeah. That did exactly the same, and I'd always fought it. Yeah. And considered it and spoke about it on here. Yeah. But that was like, well, proof of the pudding, definitely.
It must be so good for them as well, you think, all the proteins and everything else, and those young...
Absolutely, and here there's Drennan Cup roach in the thousands when you walk over that bridge here at Wellington Country Park. You know, the amount of biomass of silverfish in here is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So it's easy pickings for them. The size of them, you know, all they need to do is open their mouths, and there's probably a ton of silver straight in front of them. They don't need to eat boilers.
Shark.
Yeah.
Big gulp.
Which just goes to show how, from a boiler perspective, how much of a nutritional value your bait needs to be. And a lot of the reason, don't get me wrong, on here you'll get away a lot of times, especially at this time of year now, with putting a bit of bait out. But the most successful anglers on here fish free bait stringers or singles. Right. So it just goes to show you. You know, it's and I think that's probably the biggest mistake I made last year. I was putting too much bait in. Right. I had that mindset straight away. Big fish, loads of bait, and most of my fish were coming on the third day and night. Yeah. It was taking them that long to probably eat it and get through it. Where now, a kilo over each rod, not 5 kilo.
Yeah. You know, you just want them to come in, pick it up, and be done.
Yeah. If I know one of the syndicate members has been on a couple of days before, I'll just put a stringer out or a single. Yeah. Definitely.
And are you move more to a fish meal in the warmer months?
I used the same bait for nearly 5 years, but I've changed this year, predominantly on my theory in regards to the fry eating. So I used the red ammo with Dynamite and are so successful on it. It was very hard to change, but yeah, I'm using the Crave now, which is a real old school bait. Yeah, I like it. I like a change once in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And again, it's back to being really confident in, isn't it?
I'm a big believer in going with my gut. Always have done, always will do, and my gut was telling me change.
Yeah.
You should have been catching more than you did. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
We will see.
Do they show much in here?
Sometimes. I got told they didn't, but I've seen a lot of shows. I've seen an absolute colossal fish show just before dark right over my middle rod last night.
Right.
They don't show like on a day ticket water, that's for sure. But when they do show here, the size of them, it's like throwing a concrete slab in.
Yeah, and that when something shows over your spot just as you go into bed.
Yeah.
That feeling like at Christmas, isn't it?
You've really got to try and look for them on here.
Yeah.
There's the standard of angling on here is exceptional. There's some lads who'll come here and they'll travel from the Midlands, and if they can't find them, they won't fish.
Yeah.
They'll walk and walk and walk. They can get here at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it might be before 12 o'clock at night before they're even casting out. They just walk and walk and walk. Yeah. That's the standard of angling that you're up against, mate. It's very, very good.
Yeah, looks like there's quite a few fry out in front of you, don't there?
Tons of them. So that's why I like to bat lead down, just to try and appease it. Really, it doesn't help much. There you go. That happens.
Yeah. It does look nice, like a little bit of a breeze trickling in as well, isn't there?
Wind switched round loads today.
Right.
We can't make its mind up, so yeah, I'm hoping when it cools down in a bit, they'll start spawning weather. This really.
I was just going to say we'd like to get some more because it's meant to be a bit warmer again tomorrow, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it's been 24, 25, probably 24, 25.
Yeah.
I think at this time of year I don't normally fish, but my fishing is just so few and far between now. My priorities have changed so much.
Yeah.
Work, family, social life. You've just got to try and get a happy medium. And again, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong within the fishing. The fishing encompasses everything.
Yeah.
The older you get and the wiser you get, I even look back and go, do you know what? I did far too much of it. I didn't have that balance. Going forward now, as I've said already on this podcast, it's only fishing.
Yeah.
These fish will be here next week.
Yeah.
If I'm not feeling it tomorrow, I'll go home. I'm not relaxed and content at the moment, especially my own angling.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just about being that sort of well-rounded, like you say, that key word, balance, isn't it? Something we all strive for. So let's switch back to the sort of mental health stuff, because that had such a great response. Obviously, if people want to get in touch with you, I know you got loads over Facebook Messenger. Is that still the best place to do it?
Instagram was the biggest one.
Right.
So you can find me at The Overnight Life.
Yeah.
Or on Facebook. If you're not obviously a mutual friend, I do search the archive messages bit where they come through.
They're not very reliable, are they?
The only thing I will say is, if you're really struggling and I'm so busy, I get so many messages. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I do my utmost to try and engage with people as quickly as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But I can't do everybody. I have to throw a bit of self-care in myself. So please just bear with me, and I will get in touch with you at the earliest opportunity. I get on average 10 to 15 a day, and that's just mental health. And then there'll be other things in regards to fishing.
I was going to say, now you're the store manager of Busy Angling Direct. I'd imagine you get a lot of questions from people straight from there, don't you?
A bit, but I've always had them, I suppose. It's a wonderful place to be in, and even young lads asking about joining the army and stuff like that. It's just really nice. But when you get so many and you're trying to look after yourself as well and your family, you sometimes the odd person, if they're in a bad place, will go, "Why haven't you spoke to me?" Or why and I'm like, "I'm really sorry I've not been able to get in touch with you today." There's been so many people. I suppose they don't really understand, do they? They see that face drop, that they've read it and they're expecting you to reply straight away. Where that's not always the case, unfortunately.
Or the phone can ring, or you could be with a customer. It could be anything, couldn't it?
I've never not replied to anyone. Nor will I ever do that, I will. But just please bear with me.
Yeah.
But don't hesitate to get in touch.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think we will probably get many more people comment after this one.
I'm quite sure we will, mate. Definitely.
Yeah. So,
100%.
sort of more on the mental health stuff. Obviously, we mentioned how people can get hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if people are struggling, because I think that's probably, like you said earlier, for men, it's that, and making that initial contact can often be the biggest thing, can't it? I mean, what can we do to sort of make it easier almost for people that are struggling to reach out?
I think it's about the onus is on the individual to I think it's like anything in life. You've got to want it. Some people are not always quite ready for it. They might subconsciously know that there's something not right, or be in what I call as well a denial phase. If you're listening to this and someone's telling you that there's something wrong with you, listen to them. Because there genuinely might be. I've had that in my life. You're too angry, Mike. You're this, you're that, and I've gone, no, I'm not. But when I look back and reflect now, I have been. Compelling circumstances have made me like that.
Yeah.
But I guarantee there's someone listening right now who's probably thinking, do you know what? That's me. Listen to him and act on it. Especially if you've got a family or close friends, and it could have a detrimental effect, or it could end up with you losing them. Reach out, trust someone.
Yeah.
Whether it be a neighbour or someone impartial, basically someone like myself, really, who's going to sit on a fence and not judge you, and listen to what's going on for you. That they're the best people. People who are not too close, who can get involved and have a biased opinion.
Yeah.
Which is so good as why, and probably why people message me so much, is because they don't see my face. They know they're not going to get judged, and they get the answers that they're looking for the majority of the time. And if I can't help them, I'll always signpost.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I really want to reiterate to anyone is, if you have suicidal thoughts, then please, there's things like the Samaritans and stuff like that they're there 24/7. The volunteers, absolutely phenomenal people. They can change your thought process instantly. Don't bottle it up, guys, because it is men the majority of the time, unfortunately. Yeah. And I see it week in and week out now. Young lads taking their lives where the signs were there, and I've looked back and they've openly, publicly posted stuff and that. Yeah. Obviously, I know what I'm looking for, and I can look back and go, why did no one pick up on that? Or, I'll give you a prime example. When I've supported people with low mood and who've had suicide ideations, and this is a big one I'd like people who are listening to really pick up on. If you're supporting someone who's of low mood, they've had suicidal thoughts, and then all of a sudden their demeanour and behaviour changes where they're happy, they're outgoing, red flag moment, massively. How many times when someone has taken their own life, committed suicide, have you heard someone say, oh, but they seem so happy? Yeah. Have you heard that saying before? Yeah, it's called acceptance.
Right.
They are red warning flags. Please pick up on them. Don't think everything's okay, because it's not. That's probably where it's at its worst.
Right.
And if you are feeling like that, then speak to someone.
Yeah. So you're saying that being called acceptance, what's that? They know that the end.
They've accepted it. They've planned it. Yeah, they've accepted it. Yeah, and I've seen it so many times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
You only know what you know. But if I can give that bit of knowledge out to people who are listening to this, then that's quite powerful in its own right, Dominic.
Christ,
massively. Because you never know. There could be someone who's listening to this now going, holy shit. Yeah. That was last night.
Yeah.
Check in on someone. It takes 2 minutes to message someone going, are you okay? Just thinking about you.
Yeah.
Keep a close eye on people who've got low mood, depression, anxiety. Yeah. There's so many concepts of mental health.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
But within carp fishing, it's massive, trust me. There's not many mental health practitioners, etc., within the industry.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky and privileged to be in that kind of position. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's a major issue.
Yeah, I've just joined
major issue.
And saying that, obviously, because I'm from a trade background, there's a couple of guys that had a few issues, and they've set up a page just for it called Men Talk. I'll add you to the group.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
But yeah, same sort of thing where people, struggling with young families, and everything sort of creeps in, debt and everything else. And you can see there's people in sort of bad ways just from trying and joining the group earlier in the week. And
modern day society, the world that we live in now is frightening. It is a scary, scary world out there. You know, well, I look at the army. You know, the army is now to what I joined 16 years ago. How much it's changed and evolved is frightening. Never mind, you know, you only have to look at the amount of people who are getting stabbed these days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was just, it was unheard of when I used to go out. My oldest boy now is 21. He gives me sleepless nights thinking about, you know, the thought of him going out and something like that happening. My daughter's 14. It scares the living daylights out of me, the world that they're coming into. And you see a lot of this negativity and stuff like that within our sport, and I think, do you know what? It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't. You know, we should be taking a hell of a lot more care of each other than we actually do, definitely.
Yeah.
That's not just looking out for people, that's actually bigging them up and giving them a pat on the back and giving them a well done, encouraging them.
Yeah, it goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm privileged because that's what this syndicate is all about on here. It's
Right.
such a special, special place. You know, everybody's after the same prizes, but everybody doesn't always get those rewards, and when they do, you know, there's no green-eyed monsters on here. You know, everybody respects each other. I think the biggest word is mutual respect. It's massive. And I think everyone within the sport, not just carp fishing, coarse fishing, sea fishing a lot, there should be a lot more mutual respect.
Yeah, no, it's good to see. And I think it's heading in the right direction, whereas, you know, if you look on Instagram, the majority of the time it's well done and congratulations, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the negativity is definitely on the decline, which is good.
Yeah, I agree.
But then you do get those certain few individuals, trolls, that seem to go out of their way.
But do you know what, though? I look at things in a very different way to probably what a lot of people do, so I'm not going to sit here and preach saying that, you know, I'm this and that now. I used to be very pessimistic, glass half empty kind of guy.
Yeah.
But where people might call them trolls or, you know, the this and that, I actually look at that person and go, well, what's actually going on for you? Why are you behaving like that? Because you know what? Maybe there's something wrong with them from a mental health perspective.
Yeah, it could be masking something.
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. Why are they venting like that? Why are they behaving like that instead of being nice? So this is what I'm saying. You know, pause, think, and maybe analyse a little bit more that, do you know what? Maybe that's not them. Maybe that's something else that's actually going on for that person, why they're behaving like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Oh, hello. That's all three that have had a bit of an occurrence now, isn't it?
Yeah.
When's bite time?
Any time on here, especially at this time of year.
Right.
But the sooner the bloody better for me, mate, that's for sure. I'll be selling my carp fishing tackle at this rate, that's for sure. Never known anything like it.
Is that new kit as well? New reels?
I've had them
since I last saw you in September.
I don't know. They're the Daiwa QDX SLDs.
Right.
I think they might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like them. Yeah, nice and smooth. I had a set of custom rods done by Chris Arm.
Right.
One of his own blanks, a code blank, lovely rod. I think they might have been a bit different since you last time you saw me. I had air curves. In fact, I had air curves before that.
Right.
So I fancied treating myself with my resettlement money.
Yeah, no, good on you.
I'm not going to get the opportunity to do it ever again. So I've had my name engraved on them and stuff like that.
Mega.
And, lovely blank.
What spec are they? Or are they not rated as such?
Not rated. Right. I asked for 3.75s, and they're a very powerful rod and a lovely blank, but they're quite forgiving under the tip as well. So I like them.
I suppose you need it on air with obviously the potential distance.
Yeah.
And with it being shallower, I suppose the angles are all different.
But you can catch them so close in. Like last week, I was only fishing half a rod length out.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't always need to give it the big one on here. It depends what swim you're in, really. Especially at this time of year, they're right under your bloody rod tips, I think, most of the time. I think a lot of the time on here, we're probably casting over them, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't quite sussed this place out yet. Normally I've cracked something by now. This place is really getting under my skin, but in a nice kind of way.
Yeah, it's good. That's what you want, isn't it? A challenge.
yeah, this is definitely a challenge. For me, it's been a lot harder than I thought it would be, and a lot of lads have done really well. Even some of the new members that started in June, they're having it off. Don't know what's going on for me. Whoever's sticking those pins in that voodoo doll, can you bloody well stop it? I've had enough now. I need some good luck.
Yeah, but as you know, it can just change just like that, can't it?
Yeah, and it probably will do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just stay focused.
Yeah.
Never stop believing. That's what I always say.
Yeah, no, that's and even that's a fine art or a fine skill to know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there is. Everything's sort of only temporary, isn't it?
We call it PMA, positive mental attitude. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And there'll be plenty of people who've just heard me say that and go, yeah, I wish.
Yeah, they try doing it with us.
It is easier said than done. I appreciate that. But it's there.
Yeah.
It's locked away. You've just got to find that key.
Yeah.
And we've all got the key. That's the thing.
Yeah, just knowing that nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
Surface is alive now, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately.
So I was contacted last year by Dr. Mark Wheeler. He works at he doesn't anymore, but he works at the University of Essex. He does a hell of a lot for veterans who are suffering with PTSD. Numerous kind of socials and stuff like that at different lakes throughout the year. But basically they wanted to take it one step further from a scientific aspect in conjunction with psychologists.
Right.
So we'd obviously seen the work and the things that I was doing. I had a meeting with him. And basically they took 15 veterans, 3 coaches including myself, and a group of psychiatrists who worked at the University of Essex to France for a week and basically tested them. I've never ever seen anything like it in my life, Dom. I met these gents. Some of them were Falklands veterans. Some of them were like local Afghan tours, from only a few years ago. So a real mixed array of ages and backgrounds and stuff like that. But there was guys there who had A, never catfished before, but B, couldn't even get on the minibus at first. Right. That's how poorly they were.
Right.
And for me, I've supported, by that stage, people for 4 years from a mental health perspective.
Yeah.
But some of them guys, I ain't seen that before. It was quite an eye-opener for me even before we got on the coaches and headed off to France of just what the week was going to be like.
Right.
But I have never, ever, ever seen such a change in people in such a short space of time. And ultimately what it proved beyond doubt was that holistically, what carp fishing can do, they took it to the extremes in regards to PTSD, but what carp fishing or any fishing really can do, because they actually took a match angler who was fishing with a pole.
Right.
What it can do holistically and change not just your thought process but your actual body. So these guys were getting hooked up and tested every day. Their blood pressure, you name it, everything. They were speaking to the psychologist every day, and the change in them by the end of the week was absolutely phenomenal. And a few of them ended up catching fish to like 50 pounds as well. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So Dr. Mark Wheeler created something then, and if you look on Instagram and Facebook, guys, you'll see it's called iCarp. Fantastic project going forward. He's about to travel the country and showcase the filming, and hopefully this documentary that they film will be on mainstream television at some point this year, which is phenomenal. Yeah, it was an absolute privilege to be part of it.
Brilliant. That sounds amazing. And it's so true though, just like you said earlier, being out here, it's just like someone lifts a weight, doesn't they?
I think you could take anyone fishing.
Yeah, well, I'd say my missus isn't interested in fishing. She asked to go regularly just to sit there and soak it all up and take it in.
And I mean, these guys we went in the end of November.
Right.
We had snow. It was absolutely Baltic.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying. It wasn't like we are now, beers. They were coming out giving us soup and that to keep us warm. It was horrific. The weather was shocking, but their faces and the change in them, being with like-minded people, again, being in that safe and non-judgmental environment, which is massive, where they can talk openly about their experiences, what they're struggling with, etc.
Yeah.
Different mindset.
Wow.
And we go again this year.
Brilliant.
Everything else to do with that will be out at a later date. I can't say much more on that one.
Awesome. Anything else that you can talk about coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year I did the PTSD UK Services Carp Charity Cup match with Mark Cav. Last year was only the Army against the Fire Service. A huge thank you again to the public who got behind us last year. We raised just short of 20 grand in 2 weeks, all just by Facebook donations, which was massive. This year, we're taking the bar way higher. So we're going to go back to Wyeside Fisheries in October. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but you can get in touch with me if you want to know them. This year, we've got the Fire Service, the Army. It's getting that big that they're putting an A and a B team in. We're going to have the RAF, the Royal Marines, the Navy and NHS staff competing against each other. Over 48 hours. So if you work on the NHS, or you're a police officer, or you're a Navy or Royal Marine, and you know 6 or 7 of yous that fish, as in for carp, then please get in touch with me. Because I am going to start trickling things out very shortly in regards to it's too early at the moment. You know, I don't want it to become stagnant. It's proof of the pudding that if you're going to create a charity event, if you start it too early, it trails off. We literally, I put a post up in April, it had 24,000 views and then I left it. And then with about a month to go, we ramped it up, and then with 2 weeks before the actual match, we went live, and that was it, 20 grand. Because you just keep everybody interested. And we had some fantastic companies who got behind us, and that was a big one. I didn't go to anybody. I didn't ask for anything. You know, I spoke, people listened to me, they believed in what I was saying, and got behind us. And all I'll ask is that once we start going live and doing it again this year, please get behind us. Our chosen charity this year is for iCarp, what I've just spoke about. Because I think the work that they're doing scientifically is way ahead of what anybody else is doing, and I can actually say that because I've seen it with my own eyes. You know, when you've seen it and you've seen a change, when you've got psychologists who are trying to help anglers, you know, I don't think it gets bigger than that, really. It ain't just going to be people with PTSD as well. You know, it's going to be all aspects of mental health going forward. But I think these guys, it's going to be a real game changer. And you know, if we can raise some money in order to support them for future ventures, because it was all self-funded as well last year. So it'll probably be the same this year, I have no doubt. Maybe a little bit more funding as it grows. But if they're going to take another 15 veterans and other people who are suffering from a mental health perspective out to France, let's help them.
Definitely. Well, again, like if you want to come on a month before, whenever.
I'd love to.
Do that. Just give me a kick.
I'd love to.
I'll come down here again. Don't be doing it right, aren't you?
Yeah, hopefully hopefully I've had a few fish by then as well, mate.
Nice, isn't it? Awesome. Okay, well, let's wrap up there. Mike Bridges, thank you very much.
No,
mate.
Thank you very much for having me back on, Dom.